Welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. Today we are reviewing the EZ wheel brush range. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So today it's the EZ wheel brush range. So first thing I want to say about these EZ brushes, that they all use this nylon, or Nitex they call it, which is this light kind of flexible bristles that are supposed to have memory in there, so that the foam, the strands of nylon will help kind of go back into shape. I think when you warm them up as well in the hot water, or just generally, they'll try and revert back to their original shape. So that should try and help maintain the kind of structure of the brush. Some of these other, I've used a lot of wheel brushes over the years, and winding the clock back 10 years ago or even longer before these were around, the problem with these brushes was if you work them too hard, sometimes these nylon strands would get flattened all over the place, and once they were flattened, that was it, your brush was useless. So they looks like they've done something to try and help that problem. How effective that is, I don't know. Time will tell in kind of 6 months' time of how this brush stands up. So the next thing is that these brushes, the EZ large and small, are primarily, and I say primarily because you can use them however you like, but for me they're primarily for getting into your alloy and cleaning out the kind of innards, the barrel of your alloy, which gets covered in contaminant. It's one of the most frequent cleaning tasks you have to do on your car, and you really have to do it regularly to stop that kind of brake dust building up and kind of bonding almost on top of the clear coat or powder coat or even the bare metal, depending on what type of alloys you've got. But stopping that kind of that fallout, that brake dust building up is really important to maintaining the condition of your alloys. So that's what these ones are for. And then I have another brush in the range, the EZ Detail brush. It's got different construction, different handle, much stiffer. It feels like it's completely plastic, which is used and has the covering on the top, so you can kind of poke that in around the wheel and scrub out those wheel arches. Okay, these brushes, they don't really, when you're using a brush to clean out the arch, you are going to be using more pressure. You're going to be poking it in there. And these brushes got steel core in them, whereas this is completely rigid, okay? So you can really go to town with cleaning out the arches on this brush. So it's quite good that they've got two. So that's the basics on the brush, and now I just want to walk through all the kind of key criteria that you could kind of mark these on and sort of discuss the important things with these products. So first off, it's got a wooden handle, okay? I think it's wood. It looks like wood, but it's been painted with something pretty heavy duty and thick. Unusual that it's not a moulded plastic handle, if I'm right, and that is wood. But as long as they've sealed that right, it should be okay. You have got a handle shield there to protect the kind of handle whacking on the alloys and protect your fingers as well, so that they're always nice. You can take them off if you don't like them, but I do like to keep those on there. The core of the brush, I think, is mild steel. Now it does have some flex, okay? You can give this, there's a bit of flex in this brush, and it will sort of bend back. The mild steel is coated with some sort of rubberized or just a black paint that looks quite strong, and that's probably to stop it corroding. And the tip of the brush has a little kind of plastic, don't know what you call it, little plastic nipple sitting over the end of the core, so that obviously you're not kind of putting metal against your clear coat there, so that's safe. And the core has a kind of plastic shield, if you like, or sheath over it, where the brushes stop, just to stop the core rubbing against the any part of your alloy, which is probably a good idea, because this brush is going to be in the alloy and this bit here is going to be near your spokes, so they've got something safe. So first thing is, this has been designed, with cleaning alloys in mind and not trying to not damage your alloys in the process, and not all wheel brushes that are, you know, not detailing specific will go to that length. So it looks well designed, but like I say, one negative is this is bendable. If you use a hell of a lot of force, you can bend this, and you'll need to bend it back in shape. You have to consider that when you're using it. There isn't really much reason to be kind of forcing this down too hard against the barrels of your wheel. You want to poke it in there and then just rub it around backwards and forwards, little circular motions, you know. Every time you poke it into between a gap, you kind of arc it round and get that particular area, and then come out and then move into the next gap and do the same. And just be mindful of not over forcing it and bending it, because that will also help prolong the life of the brush. Next thing is the cost. Okay, so these brushes are not cheap, and most of the kind of premium brushes or detailing specific brushes that people have done a little bit more design for, you know, for cleaning car alloys in particular, well, you know, you can always get the cheap offerings. I've used all of the cheap offerings. I've used the ones that Halford sell. You know, you can pick up wheel brushes for about a tenner, you know, and, you know, these nylon type ones. But to be honest, I've found most of those cheap ones to be pretty much useless at doing what I want them to do, which is get into the barrel and clean the barrel well. So I don't mind paying an extra, you know, you'd pay an extra £6 for this over one of those tenner ones, and you'd pay an extra £13 for this one over those tenner ones. For me, that's not offensively more expensive if I can, you know, I can prove to myself that it's worth having these. And we'll go on to talking about that in a minute. But that's the cost, okay? The next thing, how well do these brushes clean? This is the #1 strength of these brushes over the other ones that I've featured so far. If you have kind of a lot of brake dust and dirty alloys, these brushes shift it better than anything I think I've used, especially this big brush. You get it in there and you start scrubbing it around, and that thick layer of kind of fallout starts, you know, you see it shifting basically, and when you rinse back you can see your lovely clean kind of barrel again, and you get really good coverage when you get this in the barrel and you're working it around, because it's quite a wide radius on this brush. So in terms of actually shifting dirt inside the barrel, I think that's the main strength of this EZ detail brush. That's the #1 thing I can notice from using it, is you will clean really dirty alloys, you know, and you get good coverage, and you'll shift out that brake dust with this particular product. The next thing is access, and this is another major tick of this format of brush and the EZ brush, is that these brushes can get into anything and everything, and they get in there easily into tight gaps. I mean, you can see how wide the radius is like this, but I can make a hole in my hand the size of a 10p coin and I can push that brush through it, okay? This can get absolutely anywhere. It can get into those gaps between the caliper and the barrel, and it can scrub all the side of your caliper really nice. This little brush, okay, goes even a little bit further, but the big brush does it so well. If you're on a budget and you're just looking for one, I would say the large brush is probably gonna do most of the things that the little one can do. The little one, you can also get in at more angles and get over the sort of face of the caliper and that sort of thing. So it is handy, this, don't get me wrong. But like I say, these are quite expensive. So if you're on a budget and you want just one, then the large brush is the one to have for sure. So access is very, very important, and these brushes excel at it. The other formats of brush that I featured on the channel, the Wheel Woolly was, you know, a great brush. It was like the first real premium one I bought, and it's a lovely thing. You know, once you get it in there, you can really clean the alloys well with it, and it's a nice kind of soft synthetic wool on the surface that cleans great. The #1 problem I've got with it is I can't use it on either of my cars. The big brush just cannot get into the gap. So I've never been able to use that brush on my cars, and a lot of cars as well, that big brush just will not fit in the gap, and it's almost like mint condition because of the fact I can't use it. The medium-sized brush can get into parts of my alloy wheels, but I end up having to, like, I can hear it grinding as well against the brake shield, which I don't like, and I have to take the handbrake off and like roll the car backwards to get at the other bits, and that's a no-no for me, and that's one of the reasons when I use the Incredi brush, you know, the Microfiber Madness Incredi brush flat that could get in there. I was like, yes, at last, you know, a brush that can fit in. These take it to the next level, and these will get into any gap on any alloys. I can almost guarantee it, like the forensic guarantee, which is always a dangerous thing to give, but it would have to be a minuscule gap to not be able to get this brush in there and clean it. So that's a very important plus for these brushes. Another point about access, before I shot this and before I use these, I always do a little bit digging around, a bit of research, see what people are saying about them. I was reading the Auto Express review of all three brushes that I've featured on this channel. The EZ brush, which are, you know, probably the most popular, widely used brush out there for wheel brushes, the Incredi brush and the Wheel Woolies. And all three of them, I think, were picking up average marks because they see, it's very subjective how you rate these, and they were sort of rating them on their ability to clean the wheel nut holes, you know, and like the front area of the alloy and all that sort of stuff. And for me, it's completely different. When I buy a wheel brush, I'm primarily looking at them for access into the barrel, because you can clean the surface of your alloy with anything. You know, a lot of people will use a mitt, a wash mitt, so they wrap their hands around the spoke and all that sort of stuff. The parts you can access, you can clean however you like. But the problem is, you ain't going to be getting your hands deep into the barrel with a mitt on it and getting right into the edge of the barrel. So that's why I buy these brushes. I'm primarily looking for how well they clean out the barrel and all the gaps that you have to poke into. Okay, so, but I'm really waffling here. But the point of this is that yes, these brushes, they don't clean the wheel nut holes at all well. In fact, you know, don't even use this to try and clean the wheel nut holes or those little small intricate areas. You can use this to clean the face of the alloy quite well, actually, and it does get into those gaps where you know, always the bit you miss when you're cleaning out an alloy is where the spoke ends and the rim starts. You have to go round kind of clockwise, making sure you get it. You always miss one, don't you? See it later on and get the old finger on it. Faux pas, I'll get shot down in flames for that, but you know what I mean. So when you're cleaning brushes, it's always worth having something that can clean out the wheel nut holes, and I use the Elaster brush for that. And if you don't like these for cleaning the faces, because they're not ideally suitable for that, as I said, you could use, you know, like the Vican brush, or you could use another mitt that you have separate for cleaning the faces. Like I say, this actually cleans the faces pretty well as well. So yes, another negative could be that these brushes are not ideally suited for cleaning the faces of alloys, but they're not designed to be, is my response to that. The final thing, the controversial area, that's safety, okay? And I don't mean how safe they are on you to use, like health and safety. I mean how safe they are on the surface that you're cleaning. Now, the Incredi brush, the other brush that we featured, is like a soft microfiber, and it's incredibly safe, and it goes on the safe scale where you've got as safe as it gets. That brush is right over here. On the other end of the scale, you've got aggressive, and some kind of brushes, particularly the nylon format of brushes, have quite thick, quite sharp, you know, they're like bog brushes, and they can scratch up and haze alloy wheels and deteriorate them. So this, first thing to say about this, okay, it's still a nylon brush. If you get this brush and you've got flawless clear coat and you've got like a test panel and you rub this over that panel, you will be able to see some very fine hazing type micro scratches, okay, if you rub long enough and maybe hard enough and all those sorts of things. Now, alloy wheels, the clear coat on them is generally, well, when they have clear coat, is harder than what you'll get on paintwork. And sometimes you'll just have the powder coat, or sometimes you'll have a metal finish, you know, a chrome kind of alloy wheel. This brush, okay, this brush is over on the aggressive scale. It's not a top whack aggression. They've used the nylon format for a reason, and that is that it's the most effective at cleaning, okay. Now the trade-off with that is there are less aggressive brushes on the market, and I would say the Wheel Woolies, which are a synthetic wool, and the Incredi brush are a less aggressive offering, but in terms of how well it cleans, this is as good as it gets. So that's going to lead me on to my kind of summary with this particular brush range. Okay, final conclusions on this EZ brush range. If I was a professional detailer, I always end up saying that on this channel, you know, rather than just a clown in my garage. If I was a professional detailer cleaning alloy wheels day in, day out, which is hard graft, and I had to pick a brush that would do it the best, this is the one that I would pick. The main reason is, it's just obvious, it gets into that alloy and it cleans the hell out of it. My Golf alloys that were filthy and the barrels were black, I can now see clean silver and it's got it all out of there. And when you're doing that professionally for a customer point of view, that's the most important thing. And it cleans them very quick as well. You've got, you know, it covers a lot of area in that barrel. This small brush is like an optional extra. It is really handy, but you could survive without it because the way both of these brushes cope with being prodded into small areas, they're both exceptional at getting in there. There will not, like I may have said before, there will not be an alloy that this cannot get into. That's the #1 strength and how well it cleans. This brush here, the EZ Detail brush, I didn't even kind of know about this. Alan, and we'll talk about that a little later, from AM Details, who sent these brushes, sent this one down as well. And I didn't think this was going to be much use, but this is a bloody handy brush for cleaning out the wheel arches, because they've thought about it, they've actually tested it, and they've designed it differently so it's completely rigid. So it just gets in there and you can just scrub the hell out of your arches and get all the dirt out. So this works really well. If it was about 2 or 3 inches longer, it would be perfect, okay? Just because when you get to the top of the alloy, I couldn't quite reach through to the springs in the end, so I'd have had to jack the car up and get in there, and it'd be nice to be able to get in there without jacking the car up. But this is still, this wheel arch brush, excellent. Better than any other brush I've used for cleaning the wheel arches, and I was using this before, and it's a little bit on the soft side. Better for the faces of the alloys, really. Okay, finally guys, these brushes for this review were supplied by AM Details, who are a UK reseller of their own detailing product ranges, and they sell accessories and they sell this EZ brush range. They were supplied free of charge by Alan, which was very kind. So the link I'm providing in the description is to buy them from AM Details. They sell a lot of other good stuff as well, so if you are going to buy these brushes, you know, you can pick up some other detailing goodies as well. Their clay bar, 200 grams of clay bar, their fallout remover, they do a whole range, and I've used most of that range, it's good stuff. What else? If you have not subscribed to Alan's channel, the hello social media, that's my Scottish impression, sorry Alan. But if you've not subscribed to Alan's channel on YouTube, go and have a look, because he's doing studio-based detailing up in Elgin, Scotland, servicing the whole of Scotland for any kind of detailing stuff. And they are week in or day out doing all these kind of paint protection services and coatings and G-Technic stuff. And they are filming it when they do it and showing you what they are kind of correcting and the level that they're doing, you know, which is looking at every bit of the car, you know. Not just the kind of detail where you get your polisher out and you go over it. Getting that thing raised up, getting it in the right light, inspecting it properly, and, you know, doing a really good professional job, which is nice to see. And you'll pick up some tips on that channel, as well as a lot of good kind of detailing content. So go and check out AM Details channel on YouTube. I'll put a link for where you can go and subscribe and watch that channel in the description, as always. So thank you very much, Alan, for supplying the brushes. As always, with any of the reviews we do on this channel, guys, please comment on what brushes you're using at the moment. Whether you use these, whether you like them or not, I want to hear about it. I think they are pretty impressive, and the word on the street on them is always pretty good. So you know, it's a solid recommendation. We try and feature, or I try and feature, the stuff that I know is good and popular. So, but I am interested on your thoughts. And if you think there's a better brush on the market, let me know. We may well feature it on this channel at some point. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you shortly on the Forensics Detailing channel. Bye for now.